We got to remember the most important person to influence is ourselves. If we can do that, then we can contribute to others in ways that give our life a sense of meaning and purpose. I really want you to get that in the end, the meaning in life comes from contribution, from knowing that you're doing something you believe in and that makes a difference.
You've got to know your outcome. The more clear you are on what you want, the more you empower your brain to come up with answers. Clarity is power. You must get focused on what you want so that you have something that's the driving force behind your behavior. When you know your outcome, you've empowered yourself. When you get focused on what you really want out of a situation, you empower your brain to use its resources to produce results right now. So get into that habit, the habit of asking yourself, what's my outcome? And throughout these 30 days, I'm going to constantly ask you, how can you use this? What I just said, what's useful about that for your life? What is your outcome in applying this in your own life? It's critical to continually focus on your target. You've got to get yourself to take action and move towards the achievement of your goals. So you've got to get yourself to take action. How do you do that? You decide. I hear people all the time saying, well, gosh, how do I change my life? And my answer is decide to. Make a decision right now you're not willing to settle for anything less than you can be. That you're not willing to live the way you're living right now, no matter how good it may seem, that you're going to push yourself to the next level. Demanding more from yourself than anybody else could possibly expect is true power, and all it takes is deciding. Remember, the word decision in its original Latin root means to cut off from. When you decide, you cut off from any other possibility.
You can either live your dreams or live your fears. And I think the majority of people actually are not living their dreams, but are living their fears. So I want to ask you a question. What are your fears? What are you afraid of? What are you scared of? Because we all have fears, don't we? We all have something that's blocking us, that's holding us back. And as we begin to look at life, what we realize is that the reason that most people are not living out their true potential, are not doing all of the things that they would really like to do, is because of fear.
The biggest trap that keeps people from taking action is their fear. Their fear of failure, their fear of success, their fear of rejection, their fear of pain, their fear of the unknown. But the only way to deal with fear is face it. Look it eye to eye and take action in spite of it. I'm sure you probably have heard of some of the seminars I do in which we teach people how to break through their fears and take action. You could also be up at 6 o'clock a.m. with total passion for living. You could also have the person of your dreams be in your life right now. You could also be earning what you're worth. You could also have more influence on your children than virtually anyone else. But few people do.
It's a difference between having a fear and the fear having you. So what do? One, acknowledge it. And knowing that it's okay. Don't condemn yourself for being afraid. It's perfectly fine to have some fears. You acknowledge your fears, you embrace those fears, and then you move on. You act on whatever it is that you fear. Because once you embrace it, see, what you resist will persist. What you resist will persist. So one of the most important things is to begin to embrace your fear.
It's not what we can do in life that makes the difference. It's what we will do. And we don't follow through because we don't know what we want oftentimes. And when we know, we're afraid to take action. Listen, fear can serve us. Fear isn't all bad. So it'll make us pay attention, as long as fear is a counselor and not a jailer. Make sure that you listen to your fear, make some more distinctions, and then get yourself to take action in spite of it.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Albert Einstein once observed that you have the most fundamental and major decision that you have to make in your life is this: do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe? Which is it? Is it a universe that is filled with hostility and anger and people wanting to hate each other and people wanting to kill each other? Is that what you see? Because when you see the world that way, that's exactly what you will create for yourself in your life. This is from great scientific minds. And the interesting thing is that this is not just a clever play on words, that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's actually a very scientific thing, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment. I'd like you to imagine the following scene. You're in your house. You've got your car keys in your hand. The lights go out. Power failure. You can't see a thing. You stumble around in your living room and you drop your keys. And you look around for a moment and you realize that you're never going to find them in the dark. But you look outside and you notice that the street lights are on. So in your mind, a light bulb goes off. I'm not going to sit around here in the dark and grope around looking for my keys when there's a light on outside. I'm going to go out here under the street light and I'm going to look for my keys. Why are you laughing? This makes a lot of sense. So you're out here and you're groping around and you're looking for your keys and you're looking and looking, and your neighbor comes along and says, "What happened, Wayne?" "Well, I dropped my keys." "Oh, I'll help you look for them." And the two of us are now down here looking for our keys and looking. Finally, he says to me, "Excuse me, but where did you drop your keys?" "Well, I dropped them in the house." He said, "You mean to tell me that you dropped your keys in the house and you're looking for them out here in the street light? Doesn't make any sense." And I said, "Well, it doesn't make any sense to grope around in the dark when there's light out here." Now you laugh and you think how silly that is, but isn't that exactly what we do when we have a problem, a difficulty, a struggle that is located inside and we're looking for the solution outside? Someplace outside of ourselves. It would be like going to the doctor and telling him all of your symptoms, and the doctor says, "Oh boy, you've got a lot of symptoms." And he starts writing out prescriptions. You need a prescription for this symptom, you need a prescription for that symptom, and finally he gets this 4 or 5, and you go to walk out, and you say, "Well, I'd like my prescriptions." He said, No, I'll give this one to your mother-in-law, and I'll give this one to your neighbor, and I'll give this one to your daughter, and I'll give this one to your father. I mean, you're the one with the struggles and with the difficulties, and expecting somebody else to change or something outside of you to get better in order for you to make your life work at this level that I'm calling intention is something you have to really take a hard look at. It's in here.
What we found in our research, which surprised me, high performers do not report working on their strengths any more than regular people. So that's not what gives them the edge. One of the chapters opens up with this guy who wrote this email, really highly successful guy, and he wrote this email to me, says, and I'd put him through all this. I put him through StrengthsFinder, the Berkman, the Colby, the Myers-Briggs, put him through everything. This is one of my first coaching clients ever. I knew everything about him. We knew all his background, we did all the homework, had his peer review, his 360 assessments from work, and then I watched him fail for 2 years. And he wrote me this email, and he said, "Brendan, stop telling me like what successful people are like, because we know my strengths, I'm not getting ahead, and start telling me what they do." And that's what this book became about. It's like, what do you need to do? Because in this email he wrote this, which is where that finding came from. He said, this was so good. Listen to this line. He said, "As a leader, I have to be honest with myself that my mission and vision should never be made to bow down to my limited human strengths. I should have to rise up to my mission or vision. The strengths aren't the relevant thing. The question is, what is necessary for me to develop into to reach that mission?" It's like, your strengths are great. And it's like, yes, of course do your strengths. But that's kind of like, what I tell people is like, let's imagine you have a bear, and that bear wants to go on top of this cliff over here, and it's never been on the cliff, and it wants to get that new honey up there, right? Telling the bear to focus on the strengths, to go somewhere it's never gone before and do something it's never done before is stupid. It's like saying, "Hey, you know what? Just try being more of a bear."
Right.
If you say, "Brendan, I got this big new vision," I just say, "Just try being more of Lewis." I mean, it's at a spiritual level that feels good, but you and I both know you're going to have to develop far beyond your comfort zones, and strengths are typically comfort zones. We got to overcome that and go to the next level.
And develop new skills and overcome certain fears and all these other things that are going to help us get to the next level. Is that right? Or?
Yeah. The whole conversation of beyond the comfort zone really requires us to go beyond our strengths.
You hang around people that are changing will not change you. I know this whole mastermind thing, we have masterminds and I believe they're great, they're awesome. But if Ryan back there hangs around me and I'm changing, that don't mean he's gonna change. So look, I've seen this for 30 years. You know, I've gone places where the only reason everybody went there was because they were working on themselves, changing, improving, courses, classes, education. Elena and I, actually, great story about Elena and I. The only reason people went to these places was to improve themselves, okay? I gotta tell you something. Only about 10% of the people that went there flew. They were changing. They were actually making the changes. The other people were hanging around people changing. Just because you're around people changing doesn't mean you are gonna change.
You got to do the work.
To change, my brothers and sisters. You got to change. You know, Ryan hangs around me. If I change my clothes, that don't mean he changes his. If everybody in the house changes their clothes, takes a shower, put some deodorant, it don't mean if Ryan does not change his clothes and take a shower and put on his deodorant, he gonna stink.
Dropping bombs.
To change, you gotta change. It doesn't matter how many people you hang around that are changing. If you hang around everybody just getting rich, getting wealthy, doing great, creating stuff, and you're not gonna change. To change, you got to change.